I will use the short period of time, 15 minutes, to give us a general introduction on the One Belt, One Road country's maritime legal system. I will give the four sessions. One is, for those who are not familiar with One Belt, One Road, I will give a general overview. And the second part is the main part, maritime legal systems in those countries. Third part is about the Chinese maritime legal system and Hong Kong role in the OBOR. Because I come to Hong Kong, I have to promote Hong Kong. And the fourth part is Singapore's role. Again, I'm in Singapore, I have to say something on Singapore. Just an overview on the OBOR initiatives. During the various states visit in 2013, China's President Xi Jinping announced the Silk Road Economic Belt and the 21st Century Maritime Silk Road. The National Development Commission make his state visit speech into a formal initiative in 2007. Basically, that plan was the framework, key areas of cooperation and cooperation mechanism with regard to the Belt and the Road Initiative. Basically, two roads. Now we have 65 countries participated in this road. Recently, probably you have heard also 65 plus. Australia and New Zealand are also included. Here, in particular, the Chinese government emphasizes again, this is not a closed platform, it's an open platform. The initiative is open for cooperation. It covers, is not limited to the area of those countries. It's still open to any country who wish to participate. 65 countries, East Asia, Southeast Asia, and South Asia, Middle East, and Europe. Maritime legal system. Among those 65 countries, 7 common law countries, including Singapore. And then 20 countries belong to civil law system, and 19 countries, Islamic law countries. Then you have other countries which are not easily to fall any of the category of common law or civil law. Now that will bring the challenges among those countries, different legal system. As far as the international convention is concerned, the shipping side, probably here we know Hague rules is the basic, the international convention cover carriage of goods by sea. Among those countries, 7 of the 65 countries are the contracting parties to the Hague rules. Hague-Visby rules, 9 countries in those countries are the contracting party. Probably you have heard there's one important international convention. It's called New York Convention, which is for the countries to recognize arbitration awards made in the contracting states. Now, among the 65 countries, 60 are the members of the New York Convention. So therefore, international maritime arbitration in terms of shipping area is very important. On the Sale of Goods Act, there are 36 countries are the members of the International Convention on Sale of Goods. other major international conventions, many of those countries are the members, but some or many are not. So that really creates challenges if we do investment in those countries. Now, if you have a dispute, normally you go to, normally it's a cross-border dispute. What do we do? One is go to court. As I mentioned, 65 countries, there are so many legal systems, so difficulties will arise. China has entered with 20 countries among those 65 for the legal assistance. So therefore, it's very important we have, in particular shipping or trade, we choose the arbitration. As I mentioned, 60 countries of 65 are members of the International Convention on Mutual Recognition of the Arbitration Award. So that's very important to bear in mind. As far as China is concerned, in order to cope the cooperation with those countries, recently China, the Supreme Court, has announced the new policy. Probably you have heard, let's say, one country, including Singapore, if you make a judgment, whether the Singapore judgment can be recognized in China, based on the Chinese policy, it's based on the reciprocal, i.e., if Singapore court recognize Chinese judgment, then Chinese court will recognize. Now the new policy is, if those countries, for those OBOR countries, and China will take the lead, rather than wait to prove those countries recognize China first. So that's the new policy if you compare with other countries. If I may repeat, let's say China is the reciprocal. If you want to enforce foreign judgment in China, you have to show the foreign country recognize Chinese one. Now, for the OBOR, it's on the other side. China will recognize first. Okay, that's a new development. And then also, just recently, China set up International Commercial Court. It's different from other court. It's in Xi'an, two commercial courts. And that's the new system in order to cope the OBOR development. Okay. Now, because the most cargoes or come from China for the OBOR project, so let me very briefly brief to those who are not familiar with the China maritime legal system and Hong Kong's role. In 1989, China started to set up the Maritime Court. Now we have 10 maritime courts in China, and if there is any appeal, the appeal court will be the High People's Court in the province or in the cities. China has adopted many international conventions. China has Maritime Code, which was promulgated in 1992. Now, the revision of the Maritime Code is on the way. So next week, I will attend a final meeting organized by the Ministry of Transportation for the revision of the Maritime Code after over 20 years. In China, there is a special maritime procedure law, which is different from general civil procedure. In China, there is a special maritime arbitration organization called CMAC, China Maritime Arbitration Commission. It was set up in 1950s. In Hong Kong, there is a special CMAC arbitration center. That's the China. The Hong Kong's role. For the OBOR, in 2007, the China Reform and Development Commission signed an arrangement for Hong Kong's full participation in and contribution to the Belt and the One Road initiative. So basically, the Chinese government formally to support Hong Kong in develop high-value added maritime services, including maritime insurance, ship finance, maritime law and dispute resolution, ship management, and also to support Hong Kong in establishing itself as a center for international legal and dispute resolution services in the Asia-Pacific region. So basically, that's the national policy to have Hong Kong as one of the leading maritime center in China. Now, as just mentioned, maritime arbitration is very important. Hong Kong has many advantages as the arbitration center. We always say that Hong Kong's arbitration law is one of the best user-friendly law in the world. And Hong Kong's arbitration award can be enforced in many countries. For the Hong Kong award can be also enforced in mainland. And most international leading arbitration organizations have their offices in Hong Kong. Hong Kong International Arbitration Center is the largest arbitration institution in Hong Kong. They have a maritime arbitration group, and ICC, they have office there, and CTAC is the most well-known Chinese International Arbitration Center, has office there. Then CMAC. Hong Kong, if we compare with other places, it does have many advantages and also is suitable for maritime arbitration. As I mentioned, the Hong Kong Arbitration Ordinance is one of the user-friendly law. Secondly, Hong Kong court are supportive of arbitration and have very minimum intervention, in particular the current judge. Almost, if you challenge arbitration, you will be dismissed. And then the awards made in Hong Kong are enforceable in many countries, and geographically is conveniently located, and also language by language. I have been appointed by many arbitration cases, and in many cases in the contract they require both English and Chinese. So that's an advantage for many users. And as I mentioned, the many well-known arbitration institutions have their offices in Hong Kong. So Hong Kong is welcome to all the arbitration institutions to open their office in Hong Kong. And many professionals, they have offices in Hong Kong, including maritime firms, accountants, investigators, so they have offices in Hong Kong. And in our recent case, this is our case. We represent Shagang South Asia. This is a Hong Kong company, and Daewoo. In the judgment, that's the English High Court case. There was dispute on the Hong Kong, whether Hong Kong is a proper venue for arbitration. Then Justice Hamblin said in his judgment, he said, Hong Kong is no doubt geographically convenient. It is also a well-known and respected arbitration forum with a reputation of neutrality, not least because of its supervision cause. Singapore, coming to very important place. Singapore, we have two very well-known arbitration institutions. One is SIAC, the other one is Singapore Chamber of Maritime Arbitration. So they are quite known to the users, in particular maritime and the international trade. Given the location of Singapore, it can play a very important role in the OBOR initiative by providing the legal support for the OBOR project. We have seen many contracts adopt Singapore arbitration. So basically, if I sum up, leveraging on one country, two system, Hong Kong has been playing very important role in OBOR project. And it is also Chinese national policy to encourage to use Hong Kong as the dispute resolution center. And similarly, Singapore, because the geographical location is also good for people to choose, have dispute resolution in Singapore. Thank you very much. Thank you. That's